All right, it is 10 p.m. Sunday night, March 7th. This is not the March I wanted. Not at all. I don't usually record this late at night. I don't think we've ever recorded a podcast this late, if I'm being honest. But you know what? After a Maryland loss like that, I could either do this tonight or I could do this tomorrow morning when I wake up and then be editing the rest of the day, because I should have put this out over the weekend, but I wanted to wait. You know, Maryland was playing on Sunday, final game of the regular season. I figured we'll wait. You know, we'll get a more complete podcast at that point. And I was also sort of hoping that, you know, Maryland would win, especially coming off of that loss to Northwestern on Wednesday. But no, the mood of this podcast just completely changed within the last hour. Typed up some final notes, and now here we are. This is episode 143 of the Charm City Birdwatch podcast. I'm your host, Nolan McGraw. I never plugged my social media. I just realized that. 143 episodes in, very rarely have I plugged my social media. We used to do it all the time, but since I took over hosting, I never really do it, you know. So you can follow Charm City Birdwatch. You know where to find us. 143 episodes. That's the thing. You're 143 episodes in. Should know where to find us by now. You would think. If you're listening to this, I don't know. If you somehow found this and don't know what the social media is, I don't know. I don't have time to think about that right now, to be honest with you. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, find me at Nolan_MCG. So go ahead and give me a follow. I don't tweet ever, but do it anyway. Got a lot to talk about, mostly Terps. We're going to start with that, but I will be getting into a little bit of spring training as well. Some thoughts on some position battles, mostly pitching related. There's a couple spots in the starting rotation up for grabs as far as I see it. And as always, who's going to make it in the bullpen? How many bullpen spots will there be? Back to Maryland, because that's the big story right now. We're in March. This is March. Supposed to be fun, right? The madness. Well, not a lot of fun here for Maryland basketball and Mark Turgeon's squad. After winning 5 games in a row, an incredible run in the month of February that included wins over Minnesota, Michigan State, Rutgers, and back-to-back wins on back-to-back nights against Nebraska. I don't care how bad they are. I don't care that it was in College Park and they were both home games. To beat a Big Ten team on back-to-back nights means something. I'm not drawing big conclusions from it, but when that is included in the midst of a 5-game win streak, I think it means something. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it means nothing or that we made too much of a big deal about it. I think it means something, so I'm not going to discredit that. That 5-game win streak meant a lot, and it gave me and a lot of other people a false sense of hope, because now here we are on March 7th. The regular season is over, and Maryland has lost their last 2 games of the season to Northwestern and Penn State. Now, Penn State has always been a thorn in their side, but at the end of the day, these are 2 bottom feeders in the Big Ten that after winning 5 games in a row and coming off of a very convincing win, not just a win over Michigan State, a convincing win over Michigan State where they looked really good from start to finish, they have just completely soiled themselves in 2 straight games. To lose one of these games would have been disappointing given the level of competition, but at the end of the day, understandable in the Big Ten. You know, Northwestern, as bad as they are, that was a road game against a Big Ten opponent that was coming off of a pretty nice win that gave them an emotional boost. Not an excuse. Maryland should have won the game. But if you lose that one and then beat Penn State, no harm, no foul. Same thing here. If you beat Northwestern, lose to Penn State, no harm, no foul. They're both disappointing as individual losses, but you can come to terms with losing to either one of them. You lose to Penn State always plays you tough. Would it suck to, have them snap your a win streak on senior night for Darryl Morcell? Sure. To get swept by Penn State in the season series? Sure. All of that sucks. But just at the end of the day, one singular loss does not matter. 2 back-to-back is devastating. And depending on what bracketology person you listen to, whether it's Lenardi or whoever, all of these projections, pretty much all of them had Maryland in it, even after the loss to Northwestern. Be interesting to see come tomorrow when a lot of these release their latest, bracket predictions, where Maryland falls. Are they back on the bubble? Are they back in that 10-11 range? Because Lenardi had them fall from an 8 to a 9 after Northwestern, still in that 8-9 game. Are they back to a 10 now and maybe even 11, which is where you really don't want to be to make the tournament? I said it a week ago, even when we were high on this team. To make the tournament would be an accomplishment by itself, but you don't want to be in the play-in game. No one wants to be there. It shouldn't even be a thing. I don't know why it's a thing. Okay, I do know why it's a thing. Money, TV, whatever. I got to be honest with you. As much as I love March Madness, I can't tell you the last time I watched the play-in games. I don't watch them. I just have no interest in doing it. Maybe I'll do it this year. If Maryland does it, I'll definitely be doing it. But if they don't get there and they don't get a 10, they're probably out. So the way I look at this, Maryland, they got to play Michigan State on Thursday at 11:30 a.m. They lose that game, they might be out. Make me an argument for them to be in the tournament at that point. 3 straight losses to Northwestern, Penn State. Those are two bad losses as far as I'm concerned. And then Michigan State wouldn't be a bad loss, but to go to 3 losses in a row, not good. It's a must-win game for Maryland. And the winner of that game has the glorious honor of getting smacked around by Michigan in the next round as the 1 seed. But neither of these teams needs to really go on a run to make it in. They both just need to win 1 game. I think Michigan State could make it in with, they just took down Michigan today. So that's going to make them a little bit more comfortable. They were in the 11th spot. I think that probably moves them up to a 10 pretty comfortably with a big win like that to close the year. And if they beat Maryland, they're definitely in. But I think if they lose, they might be in. But it's not a guarantee. So for both of these teams, this is a must-win game. And plain and simple, if you're going to ask me who wins a must-win game in a tournament setting, neutral site in the month of March, Mark Turgeon or Tom Izzo, I don't think there's any scenario where I'm going to bet on Mark Turgeon. I'm just not. I would be foolish to do so. And look, the Terps have a chance. We know they can beat Michigan State. They just did it a week ago, and they looked really damn good doing it. But in this upcoming situation with seasons on the line, I'm not betting on Turgeon over Izzo. Because Maryland, under Mark Turgeon, never played well in the conference tournament. They ignore it. They don't show up. They really don't show up in the NCAA tournament for that matter either, but especially the Big Ten tournament. When they've had opportunities to make some noise, they just don't do it. They haven't won a Big Ten tournament game since 2016. They had a stacked starting 5, took down Nebraska, and then lost to Michigan State in the semifinals in a close one. Good game. But that was their last Big Ten win. They lost in their first matchup in 2017, 2018, 2019. It's been a long time since they've won a Big Ten game, so I'm just not feeling that confident. But what went wrong here? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. What went wrong against Northwestern, Michigan State. A little bit of a different story in both games, because against Northwestern, they never really looked particularly good for a consistent portion of the game. I know they started with a 9-0 start, but that very quickly faded. And they played a pretty ugly first half overall. Second half was even worse. And for the final 10 minutes of that game, where they were trailing, panic can set in. You're trailing against a team that you should be dominating. And what do? What is their answer to try to come back and take the lead? They just shot threes. That's all they did. Consistently, every time down the court, early in the shot clock, no passing, jacking up a three. Why? The shots weren't falling for you. And you continuously, for an entire 10-minute stretch, they didn't score a field goal for the last 4 or 5 minutes. And for the final 10 minutes, I can count on one hand the amount of times they decided to drive to the basket instead of shoot a three-pointer or shoot a deep jumper of some sort. It makes no sense from a coaching standpoint, a player standpoint, however you want to frame it. It's inexcusable to be that talented, to have that much of a mismatch over your opponent, then take into account that the three-pointers aren't working for you. In what scenario do you not decide to drive to the rim at that point? That's the only choice at that point. You can shoot a three here and there if you get a wide open look. Maybe if you drive to the rim, the defense collapses, and then you can kick it out and you get a wide open three. That's an acceptable play at that point. But it comes from driving to the rim. You're not going to get that without attacking the rim. This was also a game in which there were not a lot of fouls called on either team. Not a lot of free throw opportunities for either team. Afterwards, Mark Turgeon, what did he say? He said it was a very physical game. He said they tried to get to the line, but it just wasn't happening, and he was disappointed. He called it a football game. It was a physical game out there. It looked like a football game, not a basketball game. All right, he's complaining about the refs, blah, 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 whatever. Don't care. But to say that you tried to get to the line is just a flat-out lie. That's not coach speak. That's just a lie. You didn't do it. You didn't try to get to the line. You just shot three-pointers. And it's another one of those things where you listen to Mark Turgeon talk and try not to get furious. This guy's been here 10 years, accomplished next to nothing, and then you hear him talk the way he talks, constantly putting the blame on his players, never taking accountability for himself. How are you not fed up with this at this point? And I know some people are willing to give him a pass this year because of the COVID stuff, and look, he doesn't have the most talented team. I didn't expect them to make the tournament this year. The fact that they have a shot and they're on the bubble is something. But again, it's all contextual. That's how I felt back in October, November. This is March. They were just on a 5-game win streak a week ago, and now they've lost back-to-back games to Northwestern and Penn State. Context changes. So I'm not going to pull we didn't expect them to be here, so I guess this is okay. This is acceptable. No, it's not acceptable. And no one should be making an excuse for this. That Northwestern game was atrocious on all levels. And if that's a coaching thing where Turgeon isn't telling them to drive to the rim, the players at that point, just being around the game of basketball your entire life, from middle school to high school to now NCAA Division I, in that scenario, how do you not take it upon yourself to just drive to the rim? So it's a complete failure on everyone's part. Turgeon, the entire coaching staff, all the players, except Aaron Wiggins and Daryl Morcell, because, look, Aaron Wiggins finished with 26 in that game. Not 1 point of that 26 was cheap because, again, they didn't go to the free throw line much. I don't think Wiggins attempted a single free throw in that game, so his 26 was a legit 26. And he wasn't just getting it off three-pointers, he was getting it driving to the rim. Even more reason. You've got Aaron Wiggins, the most athletic guy on the court in that game. He's as hot as can be, on his way to a career scoring night, and in the final 5 minutes, when you need a basket, you don't let him drive to the rim. Or even Daryl Morcell, the second leading scorer. Let him drive to the rim. Not only did he also have a hot hand where he was scoring, but he's not afraid of contact. He's not afraid of getting fouled. He knows how to draw fouls. He could have got you to the line. That was Northwestern. Now we have Penn State. Another hot start, 12-0. Beginning of this game, they led by as much as 16 in the first half and then 14 in the second half at one point. They end up losing the game by a final score of 66-61. This is a game in which Maryland shot over 47% from the field. You want to know what Penn State shot? 33%. I don't even know what to say to that. 47 to 33% from the field. That's a big difference, and you lost by 5. 3-point percentage, Maryland 38, Penn State 34. Slight advantage for Maryland again. You lose by 5. Now, free throws, Penn State 79, Maryland 53. They also went to the line 24 times. Maryland only went 13. Penn State made 19, Maryland made 7. So there's your disparity. But for that to override a 47 to 33% advantage from the field is absurd. It's different than Northwestern, though. I mean, they weren't completely lost. At least they showed a willingness to, move the ball on offense and try different things and drive to the rim late in the game. I know Ayala had a couple drives, went to the line. You like to see that. But in the end, to choke away a 16-point lead and then a 14-point lead, it's unacceptable. They had no answer for Seth Lundy, who came off the bench in this game, but I'm assuming he's a starter, or maybe I'm just going to tell myself that to make myself feel a little bit better, because this guy went off for 31 points on 11 of 18 shooting, 5 of 8 from three-point range, and added 4 free throws. Maryland had no answer for him. I think he scored the first 10 or 12 points for the Lions by himself. He was the only one preventing them from getting blown off the court early in this one, and he ends up hitting the big shots down the stretch, and the Nittany Lions sweep Maryland in the season series. The more I talk about this, the more disappointed I am. This is ridiculous. It's terrible. Terrible way to go out if you're Daryl Morcell. And one last thing here on Mark Turgeon, who, again, I'm not betting on him to beat Tom Izzo on a neutral court in a must-win game in the month of March. Just not going to do it. But I hope if they lose that game, they completely miss the tournament. I hope they don't sneak in as an 11 or a play-in. I want there to be no doubt, no hesitation, come contract negotiation time for Mark Turgeon, who we've heard all season, come, the end of March, will be meeting with the athletic director at Maryland and whoever else is a decision maker there, and talking about a contract extension. Please, if Maryland's not going to make the tournament, let's just make this as easy as can be. You're done here. Coach out your contract, and then you're done. You've been here 10 years. You have one Big Ten title. You've done nothing in the conference tournament. You've made the Sweet 16 once. And we will acknowledge that your best team, and maybe the best team in Maryland has had since the early 2000s, didn't even get a chance to play in the Big Ten tournament or the NCAA tournament. That's not lost on me. I think about that every day at this point and how disappointing that is. But that's one season out of 10 at Maryland where you did nothing. It's a results business. Sports is all results. Any business really is a results business. And I just don't understand how you can like Mark Turgeon. You can back him. But to say that, I just don't understand how anyone can say that he deserves a contract extension. Because when it comes to sitting down and negotiating that contract and agreeing to bring a guy in for another, or commit to a guy for another 5 to 7 years or whatever it may be, that decision should be based on results. And there's no results for Mark Turgeon. It's just been disappointment. More disappointment than success, by far. So if Maryland's going to lose this game, please, to the committee, just don't let him in. All right. Let's get off the Maryland. Let's talk about the Orioles. Some impressions from spring training so far. We got a couple of position battles, mostly pitchers, but there is one fielding position battle that has my interest right now, and that is center field. And really, you got a legit battle here, in my opinion. I didn't expect it to be this much of a decision or this difficult of a decision, but both Cedric Mullins and Austin Hayes are off to a hot start this spring. I think Austin Hayes gets the lean towards being the opening day starter, given he's healthy, but that's a big what if. And that's not to discredit Cedric Mullins because he's playing really well, and he's got a unique skill set that no one else on this team has when it comes to laying down bunts, speed, base running. Maybe a defense isn't as good as Hayes, but I don't think he's that far off. So this is an interesting battle. And to me, it's more about Mullins than Hayes. It's really, Hayes will likely be the starting center fielder. Unless he gets injured, he'll be the starting center fielder come opening day. But I want to include Mullins in this and make it a debate because even though I think he's a better fit as a bench player, he's like the perfect bench player in my opinion. Great versatility, can play all three outfield positions. He bunts, he's got speed, smart base running. You can pinch hit him, you can pinch run him, defensive substitute. Brandon Hyde has to love having a guy like Cedric Mullins on the bench. And you can pencil him in to start a couple days a week easily. It's not like Pat Valleca, who's a super utility player, or Ryan Flaherty back in the day, a super utility guy who can play multiple infield positions, maybe even outfield if you want him or need him to. It's nice to have a guy like that, but Pat Valleca's not doing damage at the plate. Ryan Flaherty wasn't doing damage at the plate. Cedric Mullins can do some damage at the plate. He's making himself a case. And a big part of that here is these offseason adjustments headlined by the decision to go from being a switch hitter to batting exclusively left-handed. Pretty interesting decision. But when you look at the finer details here, I think it makes a lot of sense. First and foremost, the splits. Staggering. Much better left-handed. Even against that dreaded, prototypical, lefty on lefty matchup, not good for the hitter. That's conventional baseball wisdom would tell you, not a good matchup for the lefty, the hitter. Well, splits say otherwise for Mullins. He hits better from the left side. And on top of that, it's not easy to switch hit, especially in the major leagues. So for a guy like Mullins who's still trying to find his role long-term at the major league level, whether that's going to be an everyday starter or, bench player, platoon guy, whatever it is, make it easier on yourself. Cut out the stress and the workload that comes with having to be a switch hitter at the major league level and just focus exclusively on batting left-handed. I'm really excited to see what this will do for him. Just cut the right-handed part out of his game. I think this is going to help him greatly. I'm really excited to see what he can do with it. And like I said, he's already off to a hot start here in spring. Saw him hit a triple the other day. He's an exciting young player in the system. And again, if Austin Hayes can't stay healthy, which he hasn't really every year of his career, even last year in the shortened season, he missed a significant chunk of time. As soon as he goes down, Cedric Mullins is going to be right there to take that spot. So Brandon Hyde can't be mad about that. And let's say both are healthy and both are playing at the top of their game. That's what we like to call a good problem. That's a good problem to have. Brandon Hyde will not be losing any sleep over that. Over, oh man, how am I going to get both Austin Hayes and Cedric Mullins into the lineup tomorrow? That's an easy fix. But that, as far as position battles, that's the one I have my eye on. Because really elsewhere, I think it's pretty set in stone. First base, that's Mancini, not Chris Davis. Second base seems to be Yolmer Sanchez. Maybe a guy like Jahmai Jones gets some run there, get some playing time later this year. But to start the year, I think it's Sanchez. Shortstop, that's Galvis. That's what you brought him here to be. The one guy that you invested free agent money into this year. Third base is Ruiz. Left field, Mountcastle. Center, we talked about. Right field, Santander. DH is either DJ Stewart or Chance Sisco, and then catcher, Pedro Severino, with Sisco being the backup. Nothing else is really a battle, and I don't even know if center field, if you want to call it a legit battle. I think it's the closest thing we have to it, so just wanted to mention that. But the real battles will be taking place on the pitching staff, and it starts with the rotation. Only 3 starters by my count right now you can lock in to the starting rotation. John Means is your number 1. He'll get the opening day start. Then you got the youngins, Keegan Aiken and Dean Kramer. Impressive showings in their debuts last year in the shortened 2020 season. This will be their first full 162-game season, and they're in the rotation. They're going to be there from day one. I'm really excited for both of them. I think they both have a place in this rotation for years to come, and they're exciting young arms. I mean, when was the last time this team had exciting young arms? But there's your 3. But that still leaves you with 2 spots to fill, and everyone obviously has their eyes on Matt Harvey and Felix Hernandez because they're the big names. Like I said a couple weeks ago after they signed both these guys, I'm not expecting anything from Harvey, but I am expecting, or maybe not expecting is the word, but I do think there is something for Felix Hernandez to give, and as it stands right now, I think he's going to be in the starting rotation come opening day. And let me explain why. I think it would really surprise me to see 2 other pitchers surpass Felix Hernandez and earn opening day rotation roles as the number 4 or the 5 guy. Because who else is in that conversation? You got Matt Harvey. You got Wade LeBlanc, Jorge Lopez, Thomas Eshelman, and I'll say Bruce Zimmerman. Now, Matt Harvey, LeBlanc. Look, LeBlanc was awful last year. Harvey, it's been so long since he's shown anything decent. I don't know. If maybe he can contribute to this team this year, I would love to see that. I just don't think he has it anymore. And LeBlanc, he doesn't have it either. So, Lopez, Eshelman, Zimmerman, those are the guys I have my eye on. I just don't think 2 of those 3 are going to pass Hernandez. Jorge Lopez started some games last year after being acquired by the Orioles mid-season. Let go by the Royals. Orioles scooped him up. They really liked him, said they really liked his stuff. Thought he could be a back end of the rotation type of starter. So, I mean, that's pretty high praise for a guy that you scoop up off the waiver wire. I mean, that just doesn't happen. And Eshelman, he might not have the stuff the flashy stuff that is. His fastball, I mean, we're talking like 88, 89 on the top end of that fastball. But he's proven himself crafty enough to hang around in the majors. Don't know if I'm confident penciling him in as a starter, though. Definitely like him in the bullpen. I think there's definitely a spot for him in the bullpen as a long man, long relief, innings eater. He's proven himself crafty enough to hold down that role. And then Bruce Zimmerman is the exciting one because, again, youth, got a chance to start a game or two last year. Didn't wow us in the way that Keegan Aiken or Dean Kramer did, but he's young. He's got a lot of upside. He's got, he's drawing comparisons to John Means and kind of where he was when he sort of broke through in spring training a couple years ago. So I'd love to see Bruce Zimmerman break through and maybe even make the rotation come opening day. But I think given his lack of experience and the fact that, look, he just didn't get any sort of formal game reps last year outside of his brief stints with the major league club. Outside of that time, he was at the alternate site. And that's only going to do so much. So he just doesn't have enough major league or even real, recent organized game action reps. If that was a lot of words there, but you know what I mean. He's been working his way through the system, but when he wasn't with the Orioles last year, he was at an alternate site. So the amount of total innings he has thrown in an organized formal game is so minimal in the past 2 years. So he can be legit. And look, his first appearance this spring the other day through 2 scoreless innings, he looked like he was on. I mean, to have a guy show up to spring training and be on from his first appearance, that's great. I love that, especially for a young guy trying to compete for a spot. I have my eye on him, but if it's up to me, I think he should start in the bullpen and work his way up. Get some more innings in, start the year in the bullpen, and then maybe get some starts later in the year. I think that would be the safest option. So for me, if I'm going to hand out those last 2 rotation spots, it's going to Felix Hernandez and Jorge Lopez. And then Thomas Eshelman and Bruce Zimmerman would be good candidates for the bullpen, but that leads me to the bullpen where it's not a clear-cut race. There's going to be some guys that don't make the cut here because we got a 26-man opening day roster, and I'm estimating that the Orioles are going to carry 4 bench players with Cisco, Valleca, again, super utility guy, can play all infield positions and even some outfield. That guy's invaluable, even if his bat is lacking. You need a guy like that on the bench. Cedric Mullins, as I said, he's on the bench, and just because they haven't moved on from him and he still is showing up every day, Chris Davis. He can't be optioned to the minor leagues as far as I know. That can't happen. He would have to, I don't even know if he could voluntarily say, hey, send me to the minors. I don't even know if that's possible. Like, he just, at his status in the league playing this many years, and the contract he's on, I don't think he can go to the minors. So if he's just taking up space. He's taking up space. So that's a 4-man bench, which leaves you with 8 bullpen spots. That's by my count. I think my math is correct. And after you pencil in some guarantees like Tanner Scott, Hunter Harvey, Sean Armstrong, and I'll say Cesar Valdez as well. I'll make that there's 4 guys that you can guarantee will be in the bullpen. Who's going to take up the other 4 roles? And who's going to be the odd man out? Cole Sulser? Not the best numbers last year, but he seems to have the support of Brandon Hyde. You got Dylan Tate, still kind of working his way up in the league, trying to get the reps under his belt. I really like his stuff. I think his stuff will play at the major league level. He excites me in a way that Cole Sulser, just never will. Paul Fry, a guy with some experience, quite a bit of it in the major league level. Does he have enough to hang around? Zimmerman, Eshelman, those are the names we mentioned. You got Travis Lakins as well. He saw some run at the major league level last year. I think you're going to be seeing his name quite a bit this spring because they want to get a sense of who he is. He's got a chance to compete for a spot. So if you're tuning in to the radio, I'll say. Shameless plug to 105.7 The Fan. Shout out to the home team broadcasting some of these Orioles spring training games because Masson can't be bothered to do it for some reason. That'll do it for episode 140. What is this? 143? I'm losing count. I don't even know what episode we're on. 143. That's what I have in my notes. That's what I'm going with. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. Appreciate it. Hope this turned out good. My ramblings at 10 p.m. on a Sunday, fighting off the Sunday scaries as long as I can. But look, I wasn't going to sleep after that Maryland game. Might as well record. Save me some time tomorrow, right? Hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, spread the word. Tell people to listen to the podcast. They can find it anywhere. It's on YouTube. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. It's on SoundCloud. I did get some confirmation. I went ahead and did the research. Apparently, Google Play, not a thing anymore. Who knew? So if you were one of our Google Play listeners, I apologize. Hopefully you've made the switch to the 21st century and you're using, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, something. And TuneIn. I think that's still I think TuneIn is still a thing last time I checked. So shout out to the one person listening to this on TuneIn. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell a coworker, you know the drill. We want organic growth over here. 2021 is the year of organic growth for the Charm City Birdwatch podcast. All right, that's enough out of me. I'll be here next week. Recap of how Maryland has done in the Big Ten tournament, because I don't see them getting to Saturday. Just don't. Even if they get past Michigan State, they are going to get smacked around by Michigan on Friday. We'll have a lot of fun with that. All right, we'll talk to you then.